Donald Trump secured the US presidency on Wednesday in a comeback victory 4 years after he was voted out of the White House, as tens of millions of voters embraced a vision of leadership likely to test democratic institutions at home and relations abroad. The former president and now president-elect often skipped over details, but through more than a year of policy pronouncements and written statements outlined a wide-ranging agenda that blends traditional conservative approaches to taxes, regulations, and cultural issues with a more populist bent on trade and a shift in America's international role. Let's see some of his promises. Abortion. Trump played down abortion as a second-term priority, even as he took credit for the Supreme Court ending a woman's federal right to terminate a pregnancy and returning abortion regulation to state governments. At Trump's insistence, the GOP platform, for the first time in decades, did not call for a national ban on abortion. Trump maintains that overturning Roe v. Wade is enough on the federal level. Trump said last month on his social media platform, Truth Social, that he would veto a federal abortion ban if legislation reached his desk. Second, taxes. Trump's tax policies broadly tilt toward cooperation and wealthier Americans. That's mostly due to his promise to extend his 2017 tax overhaul with a few notable changes that include lowering the corporate income tax rate to 15% from the current 21%. That also involves rolling back Democratic President Joe Biden's income tax hikes on the wealthiest Americans and scrapping Inflation Reduction Act levies that finance energy measures intended to combat climate change. Tariffs and trade. Trump's posture on international trade is to destruct world markets as harmful to American interests. He proposes tariffs of 10% to 20% on foreign goods, and in some speeches has mentioned even higher percentages. He promises to reinstitute an August 2020 executive order requiring that the Food and Drug Administration buy essential medications only for US companies. He pledges to block purchases of any vital infrastructure in the US by Chinese buyers. DEI and LGBTQ and civil rights. Trump has called for rolling back societal emphasis on diversity and for legal protections for LGBTQ citizens. Trump has called for ending diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in government institutions using federal funding and leverage. On transgender rights, Trump promises generally to end boys in girls sports, a practice he insists, without evidence, is widespread. But his policies go well beyond standard applause lines from his rally speeches. Among other ideas, Trump would roll back the Biden administration's policy of extending